And we welcome now one of the sponsors of that. He's Republican Senator from Louisiana, Bill Cassidy. He joins Senator Bob Menendez, a Democrat of New Jersey, in sponsoring this bill. So let me start with you. First of all, thank you for being with us, Senator. Great to have you with us. But secondly, let me ask you, have you been talking with the White House? In fairness to President Trump, he didn't say no. He just said, I've got some doubts about this. I'm willing to listen. Can you fit your bill together with what President Trump wants to accomplish?
I think we can. The president wants the economy to reopen. And so it's not going to reopen if all these small businesses that we spent $500 billion supporting will not reopen if a city goes bankrupt and there's not police, fire, sanitation work. They just won't. Imagine the restaurant opening its doors and there's garbage and rats in front of it because there's no sanitation. Now you might say, why would a city go bankrupt? Well, if you depended upon hotel bed tax, sales tax, and tourism as the mainstream of your city tax base, and that's been totally collapsed, then guess what? You don't have the source of revenue. So I think the president will be compatible with it because it's not about the city and state government. It's about the small businesses that we've been doing our best to maintain with those basic human services.
Yeah, one of the things the president tweets is, look, some states have not been as prudent as other states have been. Why should they be bailed out? But we have that situation across the board with companies as well, don't we, Senator Cassidy? Is there a lot of support from your colleagues, Republicans and Democrats, for your approach?
I think there will be. We've obviously been away, but I've received phone calls from colleagues I've read in the press about people who are supportive. But by the way, there is a healthy skepticism when people in Springfield, Illinois, look at this as a lifeline to get them out of $40 billion of unfunded accrued liability for a pension program which has been padded for political purposes without the discipline of being able to pay for it. This is not about that. That is about mismanagement, and we should not be using federal taxpayer dollars to bail a state out of unfunded accrued liability. What we're speaking of are the sorts of revenues that are required to keep the lights on. Or more importantly, or more specifically, again, as I mentioned, the cops, firefighters, sanitation workers, without which you cannot maintain a small business. And so we need to draw the distinction, not allow it to be confused. We're about basic services. We're not about bailing out of unfunded accrued liability. Everybody's skeptical about that.
So, Senator Cassidy, let's talk about your home state, Louisiana, which has been hit pretty hard, let's be honest, with the coronavirus. What's the situation down there, and what are your views about bringing it back to life, the economy, that is?
So perfect example. The crest is passed. We've now flattened the curve. We're beginning to the governor's beginning to cautiously reopen the economy. I would like it to be driven by data, my own personal preference. I think it's the only way to know when to expand, when not. But if you look at this is the peak tourism season for New Orleans. The weather here is absolutely gorgeous. Normally you would have Jazz Fest with every restaurant, every venue, and every hotel jam-packed with people flying in to support our brand new, beautiful airport, on and on and on and on. There would be festivals throughout South Louisiana, celebrating Cajun music, or celebrating French food, or celebrating the Bro Bridge Crawfish Festival. I could go on. The Strawberry Festival. All that is shut down. Now, it is shut down, so therefore all that sales tax revenue is gone, the tourism dollar, et cetera. Now, this was a shutdown required by a response to COVID-19, encouraged by the federal government, which has destroyed tax bases. This is not mismanagement. This is a response. And all those small business people depended upon having their hotels full, they've lost. We've taken care of them as much as possible. But now we need to take care of the police, the fire, the sanitation in order to allow these companies, these small businesses to reopen. That's what this is about.
Senator, one of the reasons that we really value speaking with you is because you are a doctor. You're a physician yourself. As you say, you know the science in a way that many of us don't. Do we have the testing capability to really start bringing us back online? We've heard from Larry Kudlow that we'll have whatever testing is necessary. How much testing is necessary? And it's not just the number of kits, but are they reliable? Because we're hearing reports now, for example, some of the antibody tests are not necessarily reliable.
The antibody tests may not be reliable now, but we can know they'll be reliable very shortly. The point I've been making, though, you have to be focused. If you're in a war, you don't just diffusely put your troops all over the battlefront. You put them where the enemy is, so to speak. The enemy is the COVID the coronavirus. If you look at a city, there is data now that would break down where the hotspots are within the hotspots. So it's not every place across the city. It is in certain census tracts. And within that certain census tract, there are certain buildings. Now, that's where you need to be doing your testing. One, it allows you to identify early those who are infected so that you can proactively monitor. Two, if they are infected, Congress has given states money to quarantine and to provide the support during quarantine to prevent its spread to others. And when you do this, not only do you limit spread, but you begin to flatten the curve even more, which meets those thresholds by which you can further open the economy. I would argue we have testing enough for that already. It's just not being focused where we need it. We need to put those tests within the hotspots. That's when we get the most bang for the test.
Senator, finally, as you said, you like to make your decisions based on facts, on data. There's an awful lot of facts or pseudo-facts out there right now, a lot of data, and a lot of it's conflicting, frankly. And some of it, to be honest with you, is coming out of the White House itself. What does Senator Cassidy, where do you turn to have reliable information on the coronavirus?
I'm reading the New England Journal of Medicine, The Lancet. I'm reading there's a lot of material out there which has not yet been peer reviewed, but you kind of get a sense of it. They are the ones who say that the antibodies that are formed from naturally occurring immunity are pointing in the direction, not definitively determined yet, but pointing in the direction of these antibodies conferring immunity. Secondly, I look at public health principles. Public health principles, if you limit disease, you need to have good contact tracing. As it turns out, since this virus is so readily spread, we have to go to modern methods of contact tracing, which is what Germany and South Korea are doing, the Australians and the New Zealanders. So I also look at the examples of other democracies of how they are doing it. Right now, frankly, we've not implemented the programs they have. So when we begin to implement them, then I'll feel like we're in the right direction. So to summarize, I look both at the medical data, but I also look at success stories from other democracies, and that's where I take my kind of what should we in the United States be doing next.
Okay, Senator, really appreciate it. As I say, always value speaking with you. That's Senator Bill Cassidy, Republican of Louisiana.